So you know what I sent my friend Marc Trestman? I go, Mark, they want to go to a West Coast offense. You know what Mark told me? There's no West Coast offense. And I go, wait a minute here. I played against Bill Walsh's West. He goes, no. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to have a guy who's been a coordinator in the NFL, I believe, at least 6 times. He's a former NFL head coach. By the way, the reason he couldn't come on yesterday because he's a professor of law at the University of Miami. So without further ado, we bring in our friend, Marc Trestman. He's not only a friend, he's a dear friend of mine, to give us a little bit of education here on it. How you doing, friend? How's it going, man? How's that class teaching law at UN going?
Well, I'm not teaching law. I'm teaching leadership, or trying to, but I'm learning more from our students than I think that they're learning from me, Dan. It's good to be with you.
You bet. Mark, I want you to help me out here on something, because everyone this last week, because they're going to go from a different offense, and because you've built offenses for quarterbacks. So let me start from the beginning, and let me start from the infancy of how you build an offense. When you're making a transition from one style of play, like the Eagles have been doing for the last couple of years, the reports are, and especially with the hires that they've made, they want to go to a more spread offense. How difficult is that, and what does it need to be taken by the new OC? Sean Mannion has been hired. They're bringing a very relatively young guy down. What is and how do you start that process?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if you talk to Bill Walsh, he would tell you that he didn't create the name West Coast offense. Somebody else did. It's a perception and really not a reality, but that's what they called it when he was coaching in San Francisco in the late 80s, and they won the Super Bowls and so forth. And he brought offenses in from Coach Brown with Cincinnati, and a lot of the great coaches in that period of time. And he put together an offense that he thought best suited his quarterback, which was to play under center, to have a really good running game, play action and movement game, and used the drop back passing game, as a part of really the dance of the quarterback, 3, 5, and 7 step drops. And that's all over the years. That went to Mike Holmgren, and Mike Holmgren took on the offense, and then he won a Super Bowl, went to Seattle and so forth. It turned it over to Mike Shanahan, and Mike put his own spin on it in San Francisco. And then I came in there and really learned the West Coast offense, or Bill Walsh's offense, by watching, literally sitting in a hotel room for my first month with the 49ers, just to give you a little background, and watch tape of Bill Walsh, Mike Holmgren, and Mike Shanahan installing the offense at that time. And then Mike moved down to Denver with Gary Kubiak, and things begin to happen. And then Mike Shanahan's son and Mike LaFleur, and everything just kind of grows, and trees grow, and limbs grow, and styles of play grow. So I don't know what a spread offense is. Does that mean they're in 4 wideouts, 3 wideouts? I'm not sure what all that means. I think that, what you're seeing more and more in the NFL is you're seeing the quarterback under center about 35 to 40% of the time, the gun a little over 50%. I mean, if you're looking at Sean McVay, you're going to be in 3 wides, a tight end and a back. If you look at other places, they might be more in 2 tight ends, 2 wides, and a back. And some teams are more stacks and bunches. Other teams are more spread out. Everybody's running motions and different kinds of movements to try to, create some communication issues on the defensive side. It's noisy. They got to make calls. They're signaling and so on and so forth. So the number one thing I look and changes offense is the coordinator and the line coach have to do one thing. They got to get the quarterback to be able to complete a throwing motion. And the whole science of the game of football is protecting the quarterback. That's the number one science. And that is, they have to be hip to hip, not only in how they're going to protect him, but they have to be hip to hip in how they're going to run the ball.
How about this? They just made a change. They fired legendary coach, or he walked out, legendary coach Jeff Stoutland. Now, they bring in this new young guy, and they bring in a new offensive coordinator. Mark, if you were coming into a place, because a lot of coordinators seemingly turned down the Eagle job at the time, and all of a sudden Stoutland leaves when he wasn't given run game coordinating responsibilities. They just wanted him to coach the O-line. Is that essential for you to have your style of offensive line coach? Because this is a big contention in Philadelphia right now. Why did he walk out of the building? Do you think the offensive coordinator went, hey, listen, if we're going to run the style you want to run, we need a run game guy that fits what my style of offense is going to look like. Not every offensive line coach is going to be in line with one another. Am I on pace here, or am I off?
Well,
pace?
I think that I'm not going to create a hypothetical on what Sean Mannion said. I think Jeff Stoutland is one of the top 2 or 3 line coaches. I look at him. I look at Bill Callahan, 2 of the best line coaches, in the game. So, Coach Stoutland, and I don't know him at all. Never met him. Just watch the tape and know that he's a great football coach. And having been in Philadelphia for over a decade, so or thereabouts. So, I mean, there could have been just a parting of the ways that the system coming in, wasn't a fit, and instead of trying to put a square peg in a round hole, so to speak, that Coach Stoutland decided to leave, and the Eagle brain trust decided that they were going to bring in somebody, and they brought in Coach Cooper from the Vikings, again, who's part of that Sean McVay style of run, style of pass. And no matter what, the offensive coordinator and play caller has to be hip to hip with the line coach. If they're not on the same page in how they're going to protect the quarterback and how they're going to run the football, it's a hard life for the coordinator. Because I've been in situations where I came in and was the mercenary and had to keep a staff. That's very, very difficult at times if there isn't this ability to mesh with the style of how they protect, number one, and how they're going to run the ball.
I think that's great insight. So, again, I'm not asking you to sit here and cast aspersions on what was said in that meeting. However, for you, though, for you to feel that you would be more successful, you would want to have a little say on the guy that was coming in, because that's exactly what happened in Philadelphia. What they did was, they brought in a guy. They're trying to get, as a matter of fact, there's even word this past year that after week 8, that Nick Sirianni ended up taking over along with Kevin Patullo more of the run game situation. And so this year, maybe they wanted to go in a different direction because, again, Mark, when you're going to hire a new coordinator, you got to get your type of coaches in there. Like you said, you don't want to inherit a staff. They've hired 5 new guys for a reason, right?
Right. So, coming in there and knowing, I've got a decorated offensive line coach and I don't know him at all. If I didn't even know him, and we can't speculate here,
Sure.
But nobody knows that Nick Sirianni didn't sit down with Sean Mannion and Coach Stoutland and say, how can we make this work? This is what we need. To come in as a young coach and mandate that we're going to get this decorated veteran who's got Super Bowl rings on his finger, and we want him out so we can bring in a guy who's really never coached the offensive line for more than 2 years. This is a tough league, and this is a very young staff. They've got Nick Sirianni there, who's got the experience and the background as a play call to kind of oversee it and watch it. This had to be a big part of this because, I was a 30-year-old coordinator in the NFL, and I didn't know that I didn't know. And you can say where they're from is great, and they're going to bring this offense, but that doesn't mean the science behind of what they know has been embedded and ingrained in their minds. So having Nick Sirianni there to kind of be the checks and balances, I think, is probably a reason why they went this way. They're bringing an offense in, but just bringing the playbook in doesn't mean you could go in each day and coach the science of the game, both protection-wise, quarterback-wise, progression drops, and read-wise. There's a lot going on, and you've been coaching for 2 years, and you've never stood in front of a team week in and week out, day in and day out, and had to install with precision and with competency the plays that are going in, because these players aren't foolish. They're going to look for 2 things. And the first is they want competency. They want a guy who can come in there and master their craft. And I got to believe Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni know what they're doing. I'm not going to try to judge that. They believe that these 3 guys, Grizzard and Mannion and Cooper, can come in here with Nick kind of I'm just speculating, with
Yeah,
Nick kind of overseeing it because of his competency as a head coach, play caller, decorated Super Bowl winning coach, that they can find a way to build some chemistry amidst the other side of it, which is very, very little experience.
How about this too, Mark? When you come in and you're looking to make these type of changes and you're going from run first style to maybe trying to be a little bit more balanced, how much does the personnel then play when you come in and you're installing an offense there? I mean, when I look at, say, Sean McVay's offensive personnel and I look at the Eagles personnel, that looks more like, and I use the word finesse with respect to the Sean McVay style of spreading the ball around. And I watch run first over here with the Eagles. It's more a dominant point of attack. It's trying to get the ball established in the run game. It's really not a high complex offense. A lot of slants, a lot of throwing to the numbers. For you, I mean, how much does personnel come in where you go, does the personnel fit what we're doing? Or is that your responsibility to fit the personnel to a boutique offense that you're trying to build?
Yeah, I think that, I've always, when I've talked to scouts, when I've talked to general managers, I always just wanted really good football players. I believe I should be expected to be flexible enough with the offense to be able to use good football players, smart football players, tough football players to build an offense around. So last time I heard, Saquon Barkley was the running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. Is he still the running back?
He's still the running back for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And so I know their run game probably wasn't as productive this year, but the bottom line is, when, as a coordinator, if it's 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, I put the, push tush aside. But if I've got a runner, I'm never wrong running Saquon Barkley on 3rd or 1 or 4th and 1. No matter what you say, you really can't be wrong. That's like, having money in your pocket, because you'll never be second guessed for running Saquon Barkley. But because you have him, your play action, your potential for explosive plays grows dramatically when you're in tighter formations, when you're in bunches, when you're in stacks, when you can unlock receivers with play action and movement. I mean, when it starts with, one of the best, arguably top 2-3 running backs, whatever he is in the National Football League, and you've got a receiver core like that, there's in a tight end like that, there's really, I mean, I can't believe that they're not sitting in, offensive staff room and going, we can make this work. We've got the people and personnel and the quarterback and the leader to make this work. This is not as complex as it has to be, to me, with the level of players. When you've got a 1 and a 2 receiver, you've got a solid tight end, you've got a superstar running back, a quarterback who's won a Super Bowl, a great leader. I mean, there's a lot going. And like I said, I didn't watch every game of the Eagles. I don't know the inner workings of the Eagles, but I do have a lot of respect for the brain trust there.
How about this? So they had 50 under center plays. They were 3rd worst in the league. You're telling me in spread offenses that you would like to see the quarterback under center more. Would that be
I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see the quarterback. I mean, I'm just speculating. I think you're going to see the quarterback under center 40% of the time, maybe 45.
That'll go up dramatically. That'll be one of the cosmetic differences that we'll see.
And that'll help. The running game's going to improve. The line, the protection will improve. I mean, that's going to soften up pass rushes. I mean, there's so much that can happen there when you can, and you see these teams are doing it. I mean, Stafford's doing it. Jordan Love's doing it. Goff is doing it. This is not unusual. Justin Herbert's doing it. Sam Darnold's doing it. I mean, that's what you're going to see. And this is extensions of Gary Kubiak too, and what Clint is doing. I mean, Gary Kubiak was under center. This is all a reflection of all that. And I think you will see that. That's what you speculate based on the people that they've hired. But I don't know how they're evaluating Jalen and how they feel that he fits into that. But because of the hires, I think they feel like I feel like they'll be doing that.
Coach, there's a big conversation going on about the quarterback right now. And again, like you say, it's hard to fight the resume and what he's accomplished. But, there's a lot of people saying inside the building right now that the reason that they're going for this change is because they think that offense is gone as far as it can go, and they want to evolve it, which means last year they were 28th in passing. This year they were 25th or 6th in passing, and they need to really start to elevate that game a little bit. But the quarterback, he's one of the worst at throwing across the middle of the field. He's predictable on throwing to the numbers. And when you have an offense like this, Coach, you need to spread the ball out. How do you make that work for a quarterback that seemingly at times struggles in progression reading? I heard one thing that Montana said about processing it, and I heard Brady say this. Man, the greatest quarterbacks in pro football are not the guys with the greatest arms. It's the greatest processors, the guys that get back and process the information on what they see on pre-snap reads and where their landmarks are. That was his secret sauce, he said. When a guy's maybe not that skilled at that, but he's just so mobile and he's so gifted as an athlete and others, how do you mesh that?
Well, I think that I can't speculate on Jalen Hurts. I don't watch it so much, but Joe Montana's right. It starts with functional intelligence, the ability to slow the game down, to be able to see everything. The best quarterbacks have spatial awareness. They kind of know where everybody is on the field, and they know where their linemen are. It's a very unique and sometimes underestimated value that quarterbacks have. Brock Purdy is incredible at spatial awareness of the feel for where people are, because I've watched a lot of him. Justin Herbert's the same way. I watched a lot of him. But it's spatial awareness, functional intelligence, and I think a under center play action game, more movement, minimizes having to progression read everything. And I don't want to say Jalen Hurts can't progression read, and I really don't want to say he can't throw it over the middle. I think that just based on kind of from 30,000 feet, what the Eagles are doing with the hires that they've made and the direction that they've gone, I think like all bets are off. It's going to be real interesting because he's going to have those opportunities to make those throws. And I think, we'll be able to judge him in a different way this year. And I just got to believe that going under center more helps the running game, definitely, helps the play action and movement game, limits drop back passes, particularly on first and second down, where you can do more play action that are tied to the running game and more movement tied to the running game. I think it's going to be an exciting year. And that balanced, again, an incredibly young staff and inexperienced. You're talking about maybe 6 years or 7 years between the three young guys.
Mark, the coordinator's only been a coach for 25 months.
I know. So, he must have some serious special qualities, and I know Nick Sirianni understands this. There is no way. It's going to be. It's going to be so fascinating to watch every day in practice, every meeting, how he's going to approach the meetings, how they're going to collaborate, how they're going to separate responsibilities in terms of game planning. Who's going to present to the offense? Who's going to run the protection meeting? Because the number one job of any coach and every coach, offensive, defensive, special teams, to me, is protecting the quarterback. So the quarterback's got to be able to complete a throwing motion, and everybody on the team's responsible for that. But ultimately, it's the coordinator and the head coach. He's got to be able to complete a throwing motion. Everything else is taken care of. He can stand in the pocket, and we can find out whether he can read through a progression, which I believe he will be able to do, and make throws over the middle and throw the deep ball. I just think he can do that. And I think he'll be excited to prove that if he has naysayers who think they can't, and I'm not saying you're a naysayer, I'm not saying, but you've seen what he can do more than I have. It'll be interesting to see, what he'll be able to do with this new offense.
If you're AJ Brown, are you excited about this?
I would be excited because, number one, if my quarterback's under center and I've got a run and play action game, I'm going to get more single coverage, right? And so the other part of it is, to me, is if you have AJ Brown on the field, it's your responsibility to get him the ball. I don't care who's playing quarterback and who's the other guys on the team. You have got to get him the ball. and that should start from the first play of the game. And he should not have to wait around for 2 quarters to catch a football. I think that's the obligation of a coordinator and a play caller. And no, none of us are perfect. I certainly wasn't, and I'm not trying to say I was, but it was my intention to get the ball in the hands of playmakers as quickly as I could. The running back's going to get the ball, but it's from a receiver standpoint, how do you get that done? Get him in the slot, motion him, get him in stacks, find ways to cut him loose, and get some free candy store completions, as I would call them.
Okay, I'm going to bring up something Michael Irvin said on play calling, Mark. He said this, he goes, the difference between Norv Turner, and I'm not asking you to dissect both those men, but he was making a point that when Norv Turner was running the pass offense in Dallas with me, the offense in the passing game went through me. When Chan Gailey was running an offense, it was a system. I found myself on the sidelines sometimes on third down, and there's a rookie out there because this guy's trying to run a system. And when Norv goes, you're getting the ball. Chan was more about a system. He goes, there's different types of coordinators. Some guys are going to run, like you just said about AJ, running through one guy versus running a system. What do you think is more effective? Because I think the thing that really AJ got frustrated with the last 2 years, and there's a Super Bowl win inside the last 2 years, is that offense wasn't going through him. So when you say they're going under center more, he's going to get more single coverage, which means to me, if A.J. Brown's getting single coverage, Mark, he's almost undefensible when he gets single coverage.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
he's amazing.
Chan Gailey's got a Super Bowl ring too, but I'm more inclined to Norv Turner, and my respect for Michael Irvin, who I happen to personally love, as you all know. But yeah, I think that the coordinator's job is to put the ball in the hands of the playmakers. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with sitting in a meeting room with your offense if you've got relationships with the players and say, everybody's going to get the ball in this offense, but it's got to start here. I mean, that's where it starts. It starts with Saquon and starts with AJ Brown. They got to get touches, and everybody's going to get opportunities to catch the ball. You want to let the players know that you're thinking about them, you care about them, you want them to be productive, but nobody's going to argue that AJ Brown shouldn't have a priority in getting the football. I don't think anybody in the Eagle organization would argue with that.
Third wide receiver in this offense. You tell me what this represents to you. I've added it up. In the Sirianni era, the third wide receiver gets a total combined with all the receivers, 29 catches. Do you think that will elevate when you're talking about a new offense being installed? Because, Mark, if you're going to spread the ball around, the tight end at number 3, I mean, they've got to catch the ball too, because that's traditionally your slot position.
Yeah, I mean, I again, statistically, I can't really comment on that. I mean, everybody's got a chance to be open on every play. Every concept, has a purpose, coverage purpose, player purpose. I don't know whether I can, Dan, I can really add to that. I mean, if the second tight end's better than the third wide receiver, you'd rather have the second tight end on the field. If the second tight end can help you create coverage by alignment, you'd rather have the second tight end on the field, because now you're in a position to even run a better play. So the 29 catches could mean they had a second tight end on the field more than they had a third wide receiver. If you go to LA, they're going to try in offenses I've been in, we've done both, but a lot of places we were going to be in 3 wides and a tight end and a back. That's how we were going to play the game, because we didn't want to take those 3 guys off the field for even one play. So the value of the third wide receiver depends on what is his value to the team. And if you got a really good third wide receiver that's better than your second tight end, then he ought to be on the field, as long as you have the ability to, put a run game together that can attack a defense with 3 wides on the field, which isn't as easy as it is with 2 tight ends and 2 wides, or 2 backs, a tight end and 2 wides.
I'm going to ask you last question here. How much would you use the ability of the wheels and the dual threat ability in today's NFL? Because it seems to me now, Mark, you have to have guys because of free agency. You lose a lot of guys in the offensive line. You got to have mobility. You see that with your guy, Justin Herbert, who I think is sensational at that. He can move when he has to move. How would you use that more today? Because, back in the day, Bernie Kosar, 3-step drop, 7-step drop, you're winning from the pocket, all of that. You tell me, do you think that, again, you would use that more, the mobility?
Well, this is how I probably 3 steps. The 2 jobs of the quarterback, in my opinion, are to protect the football and to live for the next play. If he doesn't protect the football, you're not going to win. And if he doesn't live for the next play, you're not going to win, because the backups, quarterbacks in this league, based on last year, if they started, they only won like 35% of the games. So the starters have to play. The starters win 50 to 55% of the games. A backup doesn't even come close to 50%, and that's a statistical fact. So the way I look at the NFL today is, if I'm a play caller, in my back pocket, I've got to have a quarterback who can extend for a first down, either with his legs or his arms, at least 3 times a game to get a first down and continue drives, keep the clock, keep the defense off the field. Dual threat to me is very, very, very scary, because you're putting your entire multi-billion-dollar organization at risk. Because if the number 1 guy goes down, not every place has a guy who can back up and win a Super Bowl like Nick Foles did. That doesn't happen very often, right? But there's quarterbacks that have gotten hurt, and because of it, Purdy played. Quarterbacks gotten hurt because of it. Brady played. Quarterbacks got hurt, and Kurt Warner played. But those are anomalies. Those happen periodically over the history of football. But at the end of the day, dual threat in the NFL, the ability, I don't know, extending a play in the NFL, getting a first down on 3rd down, letting the clock continue to run, that's demoralizing to a defensive coordinator and a defense when a first down is made and you got exactly the right defensive call on, but the quarterback, beats the pass rush, finds a space, extends with his arm or legs, and finds a way to get a first down. You get 3 of those a game, now all of a sudden you're at 40-some, mid 40% 3rd down conversions as opposed to 39.
I want to sneak this in. Bernie Kosar said something to me when he was on the program last month, and I want to see if you agree with this. Bernie said that technology is really hurting the modern day quarterback. And I was like, what do you mean technology is hurting the modern day quarterback? He goes, well, those bugs in people's ears that the coaches on the sidelines are constantly talking? When I walked to the line of scrimmage, I had to dissect defenses. I didn't have anybody telling me. So what it did was it forced me to read and forced me to understand where my pre-snap is, what I'm looking at. I had to be more of a savant in looking at trying to dissect defenses. He goes, no, don't ever get anybody. I couldn't jump over a stack of quarters. So I had to figure it out. And Bernie's like, these coordinators today, they're in their ear. I know the thing goes off at 15 seconds. What do you make of that take by Bernie that, the guys telling them today where to go, where the guys in the past knew where to go?
Yeah. Well, just a couple of things there to preface it. Bernie Kosar was an anomaly, as you know, within himself. I mean, a true savant. Secondly, he's one of the greatest leaders of men I've ever been around.
Yep.
And sometimes that's misunderstood. He's also, if it wasn't for John Elway, would probably be in the Hall of Fame today, because he lost 3 AFC championships games due to the greatness, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play in John Elway. So I just want to set the record straight and having, so I just want your listeners to know that he's been underrated in the history of football, and I think underappreciated because of John Elway's position in Denver. So I don't know. I can't speak for other coordinators. I know this, that the times I've had to say, might be something like, Rich, I got a great play for you. Let's run 358 slammer or kill it to nickel 40. We're in the red zone, no sacks. But I still got to get you to the line of scrimmage between 16 and 20 seconds, because now it's your time to run the show. So, I don't know. I mean, I think Bernie's got an opinion that because of who he is and who he was, but a lot of quarterbacks, are not Bernie Kosar for that matter. And he was a literal computer when he walked to the sideline.
Absolutely. Mark, it is always great catching up with you, man. I love talking with you. We could go on forever and ever. Our friendship will always go on, man. I just love the hell out of you, man. Thank you so much, my friend, and
Yeah.
we'll catch up again. Thank you again.
Anytime. And looking forward to watching the Eagles. I love their organization, and it's going to be the decisions they made. I mean, they'll be front and center this season. It'll be fun to watch, and I just hope Jalen Hurts has a hell of a season. And AJ Brown.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Okay, take care, Dan.
Great, Marc Trestman. Very good stuff there. All right, guys, we appreciate it. Sandra.